I'm just popping in to say a couple of things because um, there's been a lot of shit going on right now. So let's get to it. Um, Mostly, I want to talk about the issue we have with immigration and customs enforcement. Damn. Um, First of all, they're in Italy causing problems. JD Vance decided to bring him there so he can have protection. This is what JD Vance is. Okay, he's such a poser. He thinks that he's the guy that you always had in school that figured that he could bullshit his way through everything. And he was debonair enough or good looking enough to get away with it. And everyone hated him except the people in power because everyone likes to be kissed up to when you're in power. So he goes to the Winter Olympics with his whole entourage. I'm told he took quite a couple planes. And here's the thing. He arrives in Italy, in Milan Cortina, Italy for the Olympics. Goes to the opening ceremonies, gets booed like a motherfucker once they introduced him. But he's going to some of the venues, but he's insisting on taking his normal SUVs with him through the streets of Milan, which are too narrow for it. And he's causing traffic jams. He's causing issues. And everywhere he goes, he's hated. He was at the figure skating and got booed. But for some reason, they brought ICE agents for security, and apparently they're tangling not only with Italian officials and Italian police, but with citizens who do not take that well, who are fighting them to the bitter end for no reason other than they've seen what they've been doing here. Remember, the Italians have a fascist past, and they know these people. They have seen these people. They experience those people. So that's why they're not down with him. Also, talk about being the ugly, uncouth American. Not only did he bring his entourage with him, Vance, he brought a week's worth of food with him. Who the fuck brings food to Italy with them so they can eat? I mean, just totally ridiculous. I guess you could take the redneck out of the woods. You gotta take the woods out of the redneck, huh? God damn! But yesterday, the halftime show, which has become the biggest issue right now, the biggest thing, because for some reason you can't speak Spanish. People freak out. It's just, just one of those things. I mean, you saw it, and I saw the show, and it was great. I'm Puerto Rican, and I can't speak Spanish. I admit it. I understood what he was doing. I understood the images. I got it all. It was a wonderful show. But you know, people was people just have to be hateful, and it's not just the MAGA that who are, um, you know, to put it bluntly, poor white trash. That's what we think of MAGA. No, it's just the MAGA that are in the suburbs that own bars. Those people are the worst because they make excuses for their racism. See, if there's anything good about what happened with their freak out on Bad Bunny and their reaction to the racist video that Trump saw, and there are actually the Epstein files, is that it's real easy to identify a hidden MAGA. Ask them what they think about the Epstein files and Trump's name in them. If they him and Hoff, you know what they are. Ask them, hey, did you think that what Trump um, set out to with Obama's heads on monkeys, isn't that racist? Well, if they start with that, then you're fucked. Here in Georgia, one of the senatorial candidates was asked about it, and he said, "Well, it was a joke. You can't take a joke." Yeah, that tells you exactly what they think. So it was a touching thing to see because as a Latino, it was like nice to see that representation and to revisit a lot of things from my childhood. Um, it's sad that people just don't want to experience or take it in with them. It's kind of hurtful overall when you see these people because they just don't want to, because they believe that it's not cultural or it's not about America. It's about or, it's about conservative and liberal, and it's not. All right. I mean, they call you libtard. And no, I'm just an American who wants to be respected like anybody else does. And I saw a Bad Bunny. He did that. It was all respect, and there were points made in there. But President Trump's reaction was typical. I mean, what else do you want a racist to react to? All of them are that way. I don't get it. All right. But I mean, this is the world we live in where you have literally a racist, hey, Space, how are you doing? A racist Gestapo running around picking anybody up of brown skin or who protest them, which brings me to something that has really been bothering me. So I live in Georgia, as you all know, and there's a town called Social Circle. They had this huge warehouse, I guess was for Pep Boys or something, that was closed, that ICE has acquired from the owner. They turned it into a warehouse for people. They're doing this across the country because they need to warehouse their detainees, um, because they make so many arrests. And the thing about it is, guys, if they run up to the process of deportation, they don't have. Why do they have all these bodies? Now, one thing I do speculate is that once they get these things up and running, um, excuse me, do you see in San Francisco there was a March for Billionaires protest? How many people were in it, Spacer? Two? Who marches for billionaires? Look, side note, okay? Side note, um, the trickle down theory doesn't work. If anyone tells you that to tax billionaires will take away business is bullshit. Okay? Businesses and manufacturing state are different than a person's personal wealth. Okay? If you run a business properly, you'll make a profit. How much profit you make is what you're going to get taxed on. And just because your personal wealth is so much doesn't mean that if they raise taxes, you're going to cut back on your business. That is bullshit. It's total bullshit. And when they cut taxes for the rich, they keep the money. They've always been like fat dragons keeping the gold. That Reagan and the Republicans have sold that bullshit to the poorest of the poor. Because as one person said, the reason that white poor people buy it because they're not paid in benefits or get paid for jobs or have a better life or economic security. No, they're paid in privilege because they believe even though they're a poor white person, they're better than me or a poor black person. And as long as they're better than a poor black person or a poor Hispanic, and they can blame immigrants for all their problems, they're fine voting for people who don't give a fuck about them and pick their pocket every day. That's sad. Johnson identified that in his saying that, a poor white person would empty out his pockets for a rich person as long as they feel better than a colored person. He knew it. That was he based his war on poverty on it. Unfortunately, people forgot that. That's kind of sad. So that's that's if they do that, then they'd be shot. Oh yeah, the tax levy that goes at the laugh. Yeah, it was Elon. Fuck you. Yeah, I know. Gavin Newsom is doing a tax levy for billionaires. They don't like it. They're going to fight. They're going to leave California. Blah 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 blah. Go ahead. There will be replacements. California is too big an area. Fuck you. Okay. Um, just whatever. I mean, the levy's fine. I mean, they're going to try to do because they have to replace the money the federal government's not giving them, especially for health care. I mean, that's the thing. We're talking about. I was going to getting back to the story about ICE. ICE has $86 billion budget, which is bigger than some militaries in the world, from their former $6 billion budget. That $80 billion could have covered all the ACA, um, all the ACA subsidies. But no, this is about what they voted for, which is mass deportations. Now that they see that it's going bad, because let's be honest, white folk are involved, white folk are being effective. All of a sudden, it's a problem, because honestly, until that happened, most people didn't give a shit that they were picking up people left and right off the streets. The excuse was they shouldn't have been illegal. Well, they don't know it was illegal because they don't get due process. And that brings me to what I was talking about, the social circle warehouse they're building, the detention center, i.e. concentration camp, um, the concentration camp that they're going to have in Georgia, um, to warehouse people. And every protest, they tried to stop it. I got to give these people credit, but now the city was going on and said that it's going to be um, a tax on the electric grid and the sewer system, but they couldn't stop it because the owner sold it, and they couldn't stop because apparently the federal government get around zoning, local zoning laws, which makes no fucking sense. That means you could put a nuclear zoning that you could drop a nuclear missile silo anywhere you want. I mean, that was the thinking around it. Yeah, basically, there will be tribunals for these criminals. Once this is done, once the government is swift, there's going to be justice. There'll be a real DOJ, and then there's going to be a separate accounting for each one of these people during this time, because all these ICE agents are going to end up in front of tribunals because they are committing crimes against humanity. And the biggest thing is, why are all these people in these prisons, okay, waiting for to be deported? All right, now first, it's a money grab. These are private prisons, and each person they keep, they get paid for monthly, so they don't want to move them out. So how do they keep from doing that? Here in Georgia, we have the Stewart Detention Center that's housing about 2,000 immigrants or detainees. Okay. Lawyers are going crazy here because the courts are going crazy too. Federal court judges saying, look, the problem we're having now is that the lawyers for these people are asking the court for due process and habeas corpus, but ICE keeps ignoring it. They are not giving them due process because ICE will not cooperate. DHS will not cooperate. So it backlogs everything in the court. Courts are backing up. That's why these people are stuck, because it's more money for the corporation. Meanwhile, these detention centers are shit. They don't feed them. They don't take care of them. They don't give them the medications. It's ridiculous. It's literally torturing them. I mean, if you're going to have a prison, but they don't. They had turned it into a concentration camp because they consider people like me and everyone you saw on the screen on the halftime show as non-humans. We don't deserve rights under the Constitution. That's why when ICE rolls up on you, you have no constitutional rights with them there. You can say, what's your Fourth Amendment? You can say, I need my Fifth Amendment for due process. You can say, I have a First Amendment right to say what I want. You don't have to arrest me. I have a Second Amendment right to carry a weapon without getting shot if I'm legal. But goddamn, when they roll up you, they have to ignore it. Do you have a warrant? I don't need a warrant. I have a judicial warrant. That's not legal. No, I don't need a warrant to be in your house or to break down your door or to take you. That's what they're telling people on the streets. They're taking pictures of people and putting in a database, okay, as domestic terrorists. I see these guys. There was a report that maybe up to 30 to 40 agents, a good maybe 3 to 4% of ICE agents are convicted sex offenders. I mean, you've seen these guys. Some of them shouldn't even be couldn't catch a pizza. Well, they could catch a pizza if it's sitting still. And this is from a person who's overweight. But I know my limitations, to quote Clint Eastwood. Man's got to know his limitations. Also, I'm not a heartless prick to become an ICE agent. And that's the thing. Someone made a good comment about the Bad Bunny thing. It's that the Latinos who are for ICE forgot their culture. You could be an American and respect your culture, but not do what you're doing to other Latinos. They're not criminals. And here's the thing. They kept saying they were going to get rid of the worst of the worst. They're not. They're getting rid of hardworking people. And they said that. Republicans have said that there was ideas not good to hardworking people. What did they go after? Hardworking people. Construction sites, restaurants. It's bullshit. Okay? And it's disgusting and it's sad because the courts can't do anything. In Minneapolis, by the way, don't buy the shit from the media. It's still going on. They pulled out 700. That don't mean shit. They're still doing this every fucking day out of the Whipple building. And now they're targeting protesters specifically because they're having a problem with the Department of Justice with lawyers who are quitting because they don't want to do the dirty work of the Trump administration. Also, they have cases backed up because instead of arresting and setting these people free, because the only reason they're arrested is because they had their because they were voicing protest. They weren't obstructing anybody. No, they want DOJ and DHS wants to drag them to court for obstruction. Their obstruction. And that's backing up the court because no one wants to take the cases to prosecute them. Because the DOJ knows, or at least the good lawyers know, you walk into court, a judge's going to laugh you out. They've done that already. So these people get stuck in these fucking detention centers, which are shitholes, because no one can go in there to regulate them. And the ones outside of that, and then by delaying habeas corpus, by delaying the due process, they can move people to certain places or deport them before the court can react. That's why the courts keep demanding people back. That's the thing. Stephen Miller has developed a system that is literally the Gestapo fascist police picking up people and getting rid of them without any court supervision. And the Democrats want to regulate the ICE. Look, you're not going to get an abolish ICE, but you fucking can regulate them, including proper observance of the detention centers. I don't give a fuck if they're private. They need to follow basic human rights bullshit. And they have to be independent observers. Okay? Independent observers. And to save these, you got children in ICE, down in ICE detention center. I just read today, one of them needed medication. They wouldn't give her medication. Why? Because it costs money. This is how fucked up this is. Or they just want to torture them. So they had to go to the hospital because they might have died, and that wouldn't look bad. And then once they got on the medicine, they put them back in the detention center. A 7-year-old child with their parents. They have filed court case, an appeal to the Liam Ramos and his family removal from detention to put him back, even though they're legally looking for asylum. They wouldn't put him back in the detention center. So if you support that, if someone asks you, what do you think ICE, and you don't say, I hate them, abolish ICE, you support them, you are not human, and we will remember that. That, the racist video, and your reaction to Bad Bunny. Because that tells us everything you want. Racism is what you do. And you excuse it by calling patriots. In the Olympics, Trump's freaked out. A lot of them freaking out on Olympic people because they're saying, hey, we don't like what's going on here. We love our country, but we don't like what's going on. We're criticizing it. They criticize the ICE and the Trump administration. Freaking out. They're not Americans, not patriotic. Fuck you. It is our patriotic duty to criticize the government. That's what the First Amendment is about. And this is where we're at. We're in this fucking huge bubble of bullshit and racism that I don't know what's next. Literally, I'm miles away from a fucking warehouse that they're going to have people in it. A fucking warehouse for people. There's no due process. How do we wrap our minds around that in America? How? And the people who are in charge want us to accept it as patriotic. When is when is it ignoring the Constitution, or the Constitution means shit until as patriotic? You know, we're on the 250th anniversary of this republic, born out of defiance. And this regime wants obedience, compliance. It's not gelling. Now here's a quick note. I saw this in the New York Times. The 250th anniversary of the US, there already had been for years plans for celebrations, usually at places of importance like Boston, Philadelphia, historical importance of what brought this country to fruition. But apparently that committee or that organization is being undercut by Trump's new committee called Freedom 250, that for $1 million to help fund this, you could have access to the president. For $2.3 million, you could have a sit down with the president. And what they're doing? They want to build, with this money, they're supposed to build that arc de Trump in Washington, fuck up all Washington, D.C. traffic. If you ever been around D.C., you know that's a bad fucking idea. And also you got the F1 race through the streets of Washington, D.C. How? It's better if they do it in Chicago or Long Beach. But at least in that area, you don't have Chicago's now the state capital or nation capital. Okay, they do it in Long Beach, where you get it. They do it in Vegas. Okay. Yeah, they do it in Vegas. But that's a different cat. In Washington, D.C., that's insane. Totally insane. And don't forget, we got the Hunger Games. Remember that? They got that Hunger Games thing they're sponsoring. And on the lawn of the White House, that UFC fight. All to celebrate the 250th anniversary of America. I can't make this shit up. If I was writing something like this as a dystopian novel, the editor I would get a letter saying, "Thank you, no, you're out of your fucking mind." I mean, we live in this fucking weird ass fantasy world. Meanwhile, on the Epstein front, Ghislaine Maxwell had her hearing and said, "I don't know nothing. I'm not saying nothing. I ain't do nothing." And her lawyer came out, yeah, she might spill the beans if Trump gives her clemency. Yeah. Hmm. A liar. A person who groomed little girls to be abused is looking to use Trump to get out of prison for her heinous crimes. Am I the only one thinks there's something fucked up about that, or is it just me? Meanwhile, I guess certain congressmen or senators saw the unredacted files, said there's 6 names that are not in the files. My only statement to them: why don't you go on the floor of the Senate and the House and name the goddamn names? They can't sue you if you sit there on the floor of the House or the Senate. That's what the survivors want. They can't do it because these men have money and they will sue them or other things to happen to them. But they met with the survivors met with Pam Bondi in the Department of Justice, said, "Yeah, we're working hard, blah blah blah." And then she's going to go to, I believe, to Wednesday. Wednesday. Pam Bondi sits in front of Congress to be questioned. Republicans got a memo. Republican members of the House Committee, Judicial Committee, got a memo, said, "Do not ask her about Pam Bondi about the Epstein files, or you're going to get Tom Massey. In other words, you'd be persona non grata, and we're going to primary you." What the fuck? So she's going to be there. That should be a shit show. The redacted files have been. They're looking at the redacted files, unredacted files now, and probably going through a what they call that secure area. And we found out about that. That Trump stole um, classified documents and never paid the price for it. Documents are probably still, thank God they got some of them, but some are probably still in Mar-a-Lago or buried them with someone. And also the whistleblower, that apparently might have been Trump speaking to a foreign intelligence agency. I mean, who else would he talk to? The FSB? Possibly. That's Putin's. And the whistleblower took it to Tulsi Gabbard, who's hiding it. They're sitting on this literally act of treason. And if Trump did it, I'm not surprised because he's already done treasonous things. But that's out there too. Meanwhile, the economy is not what Trump says. I mean, there's job losses, tariffs are still a problem, prices are still a problem. Hey, Trump just signed an executive order allowing more Argentinian beef or foreign beef into the United States to undercut ranchers. Trump was talking about farmers. They say, and farmers love me. I gave you $12 billion. Farmers are now dependent on subsidies and handouts from the American government to survive. So to you farmers in the Midwest who complain about SNAP and socialism and Medicaid or Medicare, who complain about that and say, hey, people should pull themselves up by the bootstraps, include yourself. Because it wasn't for my fucking tax money, you'd be broke and bankrupt. Okay? Because you trusted a man who fucked you again. And you're doing your planning. Who are you going to sell your soybeans to? Chinese have us over a barrel. And Trump is just running around worried about everything but us. Meanwhile, the foreign countries are starting to look at getting rid of people who were ever mentioned in the Epstein files. They caught one of the prime minister of England's advisors. He resigned. Now they're pressuring the prime minister to resign because he had someone associated with him. Meanwhile, here in the United States, Howard Lutkin, who was all over the files and according to the files, was doing business with Epstein after he denounced him, is still holding the Commerce Secretary seat and will not resign. He needs to resign. Also, the guy that they had put up for the Federal Reserve to replace Jerome Powell, he's in the files. That isn't going to go well for him if he gets to the Senate hearing. So, I mean, it's just crazy. And it's like, the worst thing about all this is the reaction of people. The majority of us just want some normalcy. Someone put out a video which was depressing. What was it like before Trump, showing times of when Trump wasn't in power, in the Obama administration, the Biden administration, when we talked about stuff other than hate. And then they showed Trump at the end, with the ice age and all that. And my only thing about it is, and the problem we still have is that we did it. We did it to ourselves. Be it Merrick Garland not prosecuting him, Mitch McConnell not going through the impeachment, people buying into his bullshit a second time because they didn't think they had it that good. I mean, he's holding back federal funding for that tunnel in New York, money already designated as until they give him what he wants. I don't know what he wants, and they're laying men off that need to work, and the project's sitting there. Why? Because We have an entire because it's Trump. We have a Department of Justice and an FBI. And FBI told Cash Patel told prosecutors of the DOJ in Minneapolis, do not investigate the murders of Renee Good and Alex Peretti. Stop. Those people have resigned. You have a Department of Justice who's short on lawyers because people are leaving because they don't want to deal with it because all they hear in the Department of Justice is do what Trump says, go after Trump's enemies, make them suffer because I was hurt, and it's wrong. But that's where we're at, and we keep holding on for dear life. People are protesting. People are yelling. They're out in the streets. I saw that video of Minnesota where they threw dildos at ICE agents, rubber dildos. And I was talking to Mike last night. If you haven't seen it, Mike and I, the Rational Boomer, did a podcast. It's on YouTube. Definitely check it out. Leave some comments in it. Like it. Also, just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please do that and like my videos so I can work the algorithm. Same thing here at Substack. Please join, subscribe if you haven't done. Binder 38 US is Substack. I do have a paid subscription. If you can help me out, it's only $8 a month. I don't hide things behind a paywall. I don't do that to you, but if you want to toss me $8 a month so I can continue this work, which I think it's work. It's work to tell you this because it's hard sometimes because I evaluate this because I get pissed. I get angry. I get so upset because it doesn't make sense to me. Hate and injustice never made sense to me from when I was a kid. Given a fair opportunity and make the most out of it is given. America has given you a fair opportunity, and it's up to you to make the most out of it. Okay? America is about everyone together helping each other out. America is about different cultures all still calling themselves American. Okay? No, I haven't done anything. Well, I mean, sometimes with the Analytica Iowan, I've done some lies with. Mike and he's the first one to let me do on a podcast, so I kind of go to him, and he has a pretty good platform. So I haven't really thought about it. If anyone's interested, if you want to come here on Substack, I would love to do a live with you, or we can do a podcast together. If you're interested in that, you can email me at KUMQUAT, the number 6 at outlook.com. You can get me there, and I would love to talk to you if you have any questions. But yeah, it's a shit show. And I don't know when it's going to get better, but we cannot lose focus of what's going on. I'm going to end with this, watching the Bad Bunny. I watched the halftime show best I could, but later I watched the reactions to it. A lot of people. And it touched everyone because we are, as a Latino, I saw all that. People playing dominoes, the dancing, the food. Just open up to everyone. You know that if you go to a Latino's house or your friend or someone, they're going to feed you. You don't leave without eating. Remember that when I was in high school, I had friends come in. Mom said, "You going to eat?" They had to eat and to go eat dinner again. One of my friends says, "I'm making me fat." That's what happens. When I married my wife, former wife, when we were dating, and she's a wonderful German girl, I went in to introduce her to my sister and my mom. But today's my sister's birthday. God rest her soul. Hope you're doing all right, Deb. Sorry. My mom was making tamales. She had a big blue roaster pan full of masa and then meat on the other side, and they were tamales, and they took my wife, sat down, and they made tamales together and told me to leave. That was her introduction to the family. I remember shopping my mom in little carnicerias, little back places before you saw the big, like gigantes and big ethnic supermarkets. Um, Now, little back places in San Fernando where they made carnitas in kettles, and you can smell it, sawdust on the floor. Food is so important in the culture because it brings out memories of family and what you did. My mom making tortillas for my daughter when she was a baby and she loved it. Um, all these things are family. And to watch Bad Bunny's performance reminded me that's my culture, my family. My mom was Mexican, but it all kind of tied in. And to listen to the Trump and all the MAGA say that's not American, fuck no. That is fucking America. We are all America, as he said, because we're all that part together. Here in the United States, we are so different, but together. And the only people that don't understand it are MAGA and Stephen Miller and Kristi Noem and all the other MAGA fucks who think they're losing out. Instead of embracing it, they want to kill it. But it's not going to die because this ethnic cleansing is going to fail. It's failing now because people understand what you're doing. And you have to be, they're lucky, honestly, that people aren't mad enough. Instead of throwing rubber dicks at cars, they're not throwing Molotov cocktails. Because Americans believe in peaceful protest. But don't push them. Don't push them too far. But that's my message here. All right. I know there's only 5 people in the, that's fine. I get it. But I'm going to put this up on YouTube. And TikTok doesn't take it. I don't know why. But you can see it here later. Pass on the word. But that's the point. That performance last night is what America is. This is not part of the culture. And we can share culture. We can let you enjoy it too. You could introduce me to other stuff. I mean, because we're a lot similar too. But these people fight it and they fight it and they fight it. And they want some kind of weird ass version of white Christian Taliban here in the United States. But they want us all to accept it. Here's the joke on them. We won't. Americans do not capitulate. Never. Ever. Honestly. You know it and I know it. That's what frustrates the fuck out of them. Um, this is what my message is that in all of this that feels dark and tough and weighing on us, we're not going to capitulate. We're not, because we're not going to go out like that. Hell no. We've been around here 250 years, this country, and it's sure as hell not going to end with a fucking reality show racist man who uses orange makeup to hide his sickness and his sycophants, including a gentleman who didn't peak in high school, who's the biggest racist known to man, who thinks he's something but he's not, and all the other sycophants around it. And hey, billionaires, it's just a matter of time, because the French understood that too. We do. We will not capitulate. And an election's coming whether you like it or not. And if you don't want an election, shit's going to hit the fan. At that point, there will be Molotov cocktails. You know what I'm saying? People will vote, and you're not going to like the results. And you may say it's cheating. No, If a Democrat can win a state senate in Louisiana, in deep, deep red Louisiana, that's why here in Georgia, they keep saying it's a 50-50 state, talking about the election against John Ossoff. It isn't. Especially one of the Senate candidates is defending Trump's racist message video. I think that the 14th district for that's Marjorie Taylor Greene's is going to be surprised. Will they win it, Democrat? I don't know, but it sure is going to be closer than they think. I think the 10th district is going to be closer to Barry Latimer's than they think. I think the entire country is going to switch. And the Democratic corporate leadership is finding out in New Jersey, we are not buying into your APAC bullshit. So that gives me hope. And that's why I speak on it. That's why I tell you that. Because sometimes someone has to tell everyone when we hit the ground, when it's too much, someone has to grab you by the shoulder and lift you up and goes, we got this. We got this. Because there's still more of us than there is of them. And they're finding that out one step at a time. Yeah, I mean, it could be, Johnny, that this is a bad time. It's the only time I could squeeze in for a live. And again, I had a lot of stuff I wanted to say, which is kind of hard to do in videos. But it's time for me to scoot. I want to thank you for those who joined me. If you're watching this on Substack or YouTube, leave a like, leave a comment. Follow me at Binder38US here at Substack. You want to subscribe to the page, great. Same thing, Binder38US on YouTube. RJ127 at TikTok for as long as I have that account, because they already gave me a first warning. Here we go again. You guys have a good rest of the evening. And the best thing I can say for everyone, let's keep the faith and viva Puerto Rico.